think it's just kind of like again, this is it's so individual, but go like testing out different things, right? Testing and assessing different periods of time, potentially using a little bit of fasting to your advantage and testing things out with that. But yeah, it's, thinking through like, okay, for example, if you are someone who's lifting a lot, right, and you're looking for really like body composition changes, right? So maybe you're lifting, you follow a protocol where you're doing like 4 weeks of, heavy lifting, you're on it. That's your program, you're progressing, and then you have a fifth week where maybe you're deloading, right? This is just an example. So maybe during that deload week, you don't necessarily, like your activity is coming down, so maybe you don't need as much carbs during that week. I'm not saying that you have to do this. This is just one method that you could follow or try. So maybe for that week, you go more lower carb, and then you kind of maybe get into ketosis for that period of time. So your body recognizes that again. So it's just kind of going through these different periods and being and then also you'll get to a point, at least this is the point that I've gotten to, where it just comes very naturally. So like, for example, I went to New York to go back home. I'm originally from New York, to visit my family 2 weeks ago. I was celebrating a wedding, my best friend's wedding, and my 30th birthday, all in basically 5-day period. And the wedding was on my actual birthday. So my excuse was like, okay, if I can't celebrate my birthday on this day, because it's, all about my friend, it's her wedding, then we'll just celebrate for the other 5 days of the week. So we went out to eat. We were like, I was eating a lot, like eating at different restaurants, eating all the things, right? And then it was time to come back home. So I was going from the East Coast to the West Coast. So I essentially gained 3 hours, obviously, and it was like a 27-hour day, and my flight was super, super early in the morning, right? So I was up at like 3:30 in the morning. Again, this was after a week of eating all the things, carbs, fats, protein, all the things. And so for me, I was like, okay, I need to kind of get back on my schedule. I know that I've probably been in a surplus for the last week, so I need to kind of get back into the groove of things. And so I just ended up fasting for the entire day. And that was just a natural thing that I did. And yeah, it was a little bit like I had hunger pangs throughout that, but it wasn't so much where it wasn't actually at all where I felt that I was, gonna, die or I was hangry or anything like that. And so for that's me, like that's my body saying, hey, you're metabolically flexible. You can go eat these carbs for a week, eat all this food for a week, and then immediately fast I think I fasted for 22 hours. Just because that's kind of how the schedule worked for that day. And so it was water and a little bit of coffee. And that was, that's how that day went. And I had like maybe 2 hunger pangs that lasted maybe 15 minutes each. But as we know, hunger comes and goes. It's like a wave. So when you have a hunger pang, it's not going to last for hours on end. It's going to come up and maybe last for 10 to 20 minutes, and then it will come back down and go away. So it's kind of just getting over that hump. But it wasn't anything where I was like, some people who are, I guess, not metabolically flexible, if you go from eating a ton of food, a ton of carbs, and then try to fast, you're going to probably feel like shit. Because your blood sugar is going to be dropping. You're just not going to be, you're going to be hangry. You're going to be, angry and pissed off and not be able to focus and things like that. So yeah, that's really where like kind of the more natural side of it comes into play, and kind of working with your schedule and going through those, those different periods and not really forcing it. I think that has become something that can be super beneficial when you actually don't try to force it. You just kind of go with the flow. I put like sometimes like for my trip there, for example, I'll pack like a little cooler and I'll give like tons of tips on how you can get past TSA with like little things. So that's why I always like I have like, okay, there's like, for example, my trip back, I fasted the entire time and my cooler was wrapped up in my bag. But on the way there, I wasn't fasting. I was just getting a lot of protein in, but brought my own food.